incredible with this effort is that, you know, you're seeing industry partners join almost on a weekly basis with the college, getting U of A, Kuiper Circle, and others coming in here, getting this amazing project and all these other organizations to fall in, and then to be able to, in turn, develop pilot programs that not only help you grow as individuals, not only teach you the skills of team building and managing team dynamics, but also to then serve the community, you know, and the students that are there. So it's going to be something that this, whatever you develop and whatever you come up with, you're going to continue to work on it more than likely, you know, over like the next year after that, just because you gain that passion for it. I think I have an understanding of what your goals are based on your description. So for my pitch, what I'm walking you through is how to integrate space technology into both STEAM outreach and workforce development programs, primarily focused on an entire glide path of the K through 20. You know, so that includes undergraduate, it includes postgraduate, and it also is the ties into industry as well. Okay. My background is I'm a retired Air Force colonel, lieutenant colonel. I was a space operations officer for my 20 years. I did a lot of work in my last 4 years about international partnerships. I loved it. I love bringing countries together, you know, and developing programs together. And when I retired, I didn't want to stop doing that. So I expanded it. But along that journey, I created a very crystallized vision of who I am and what I'm here for. You know, and that's cultivating a global interconnected space community through partnership. That in turn has driven every single thing I do. You know, so whether it's the space development and partnership work that I do through Beyond Horizons, or if it's the philanthropic work for STEAM integration and outreach, or if it's building the collaborative environments through my other company, you know, all of those projects, every single one deals with creating collaboration and community. Okay. But I'm a space guy, you know, and you already saw this from a STEAM outreach perspective and a workforce development perspective. I am trying to support people who build programs to help people discover who they are and to preserve the line of innovators, to allow us in the next 20 years to get to Mars, get to the moon, go even farther than that, do new and exciting things, including building space systems in space and not having to shoot them up from here. Okay, so pretty outlandish and wild things. But the purpose of STEAM, once again, is to allow the kids who are going through school to discover who they are. And then once they discover what their passions are, even if it isn't science or technology or engineering or math or space or bio technology or anything like that, once they discover what it is and who they want to be and see that pathway to get there, we've done our job. Okay. So the reason I walked through those examples, we talked about lunar missions. We talked about colonizing, you know, Mars. The reason why it is so important from a Tucson perspective is that Paragon Space Development Corporation is developing the spacesuits and they're developing the habitats to accomplish that mission. They're also working on the Orion space capsule, which is replacing the space shuttle as our means of delivery for these astronauts wherever their final destination is. The University of Arizona, Arizona State, have a tremendous amount of background supporting NASA throughout the decades. They did a lot of work on Mars rovers programs, other extraplanetary rover missions. And then in addition to that, they have outstanding resources in terms of the different astronomy sites here. You know, they are a world leader between the two of them, and they're one of the hallmarks of Arizona in their capacity. So these are very close local industry partners as well as universities that we can couple in and then work with them to integrate into the K through 12 classrooms. And they have existing programs to do that. So they're great resources. The other thing is, I mentioned the asteroid mining. This is going to change the way we live in our solar system. All of those great ideas of going to the moon, going to Mars, all of those great ideas about building stuff using the material that's already out in space, to build our habitats on the moon, from the natural material that's already there, to be able to use the water and the oxygen to sustain astronauts, to be able to also use that to fuel the rockets that go out and provide the transportation. Everything is going to be born out of this industry. This is a multi-trillion-dollar industry that's going to start taking shape in about 10 years. University of Arizona is the starting point for that. In 11 days, OSIRIS-REx, if all the conditions are great, they'll be able to launch on a journey that's going to take a couple of years to do the initial pilot and proof of concept on asteroid rendezvous, on taking a sample and then bringing it back to Earth. So they have an education program both through the University of Arizona for this. It's outstanding, but also Dante has a program called Extronaut, which is an education-based company to also support. Commercial space travel, Worldview Enterprise is probably the best example. This is a local Tucson company. Jane Pointer and Tabor are the co-founders of it. But imagine a space capsule that goes up via high altitude balloon up to about 90 to 100,000 feet. And you spend 4 hours looking at the curvature of the Earth and seeing things that only astronauts to this point have been able to see. So their company is going to launch out of Spaceport Tucson along with the next organization, Vector Space Systems. So we're going to have, hopefully within the next 5 to 10 years, actual space launches coming from Tucson and the surrounding area. A lot of energy and excitement towards Spaceport Tucson. But they're going to need people to actually be part of their team, and so being able to link them into K through 12 programs, as well as being able to take advantage of the CubeSat revolution and the femto satellite revolution that's currently going on at Arizona State University. You're talking about satellites. When I was first starting to work with satellites, they were the size of a school bus. These CubeSats, which started about 10 to 15 years ago, are the size of a Kleenex box. Different capability, but it gives people a much lower cost break point to actually be able to bring it into universities and now into high schools, now into middle schools, elementary schools, to where kids can get hands-on building a satellite that in some cases they're launching them off the International Space Station. A wonderful experience for students regardless of what age group they're in, okay? So that entire ecosystem also has a large footprint here within Tucson. So other resources that you can consider as you're trying to bring industry into the classroom. And then on a different path, Dr. Moriba Jah, he is trying to figure out how to clean up the mess that's up on orbit. We have over 22,000 objects in space. Only about 1,300 of them are active. So there's a lot of junk up there. So part of his mission is to basically take all of the different sensors and resources and organizations and try to bring them together in a collaborative fashion to create a federation that gives an accurate picture of where all this junk is. And then he's also working on the policy side to see if satellite developers can do it in such a way that we can track them much better as these things get down to the size of a human hand, which is very hard to track, by the way, to where we can see them better and then also work on ways to clean up all of the dead satellites that are up there and bring them back on Earth. That is something that is going to define the next 20 years of the space industry. Because if we don't do it right, we're going to damage the very domain we're trying to operate in, and we won't have an industry. So that's a high interest item as well. But world renowned, leader in this field. He just moved to University of Arizona about 8 months ago, but a tremendous resource. And that program that he's developing is something that we're trying to figure out how to bring it into the classrooms. Okay, another opportunity. I'm going to make sure that Michael puts all the presentations on the website, but this is the one specific to what you guys are trying to do. Just look at what, in my mind, has defined what a good STEAM outreach and workforce development program is for a community. And think about these terms while you're going through the definition of what you're going to solve. Okay, because depending on how you do it, it may be something that is sustainable and it's practical no matter which school district or which city that you choose to implement in. Okay, but the other thing is I can help you all along that path of the amount of failures I've had, the amount of successes I've had, and different approaches you can take. Okay, there are a lot of resources that are out there. Some of them are online and they're free. Time Capsule of Mars is a great one, where all you're doing is you're just having kids basically take a picture of their fellow classmates and they send it to a website. They're basically putting all of those pictures from for over about a 5-year time period onto CubeSats that are going to be launched up and they're going to land on Mars surface. So it's a time capsule. And what a wonderful way to capture the imagination. And when you only pay $2 for a photo, one classroom photo, that's extremely affordable and it can support curriculum. Kerbal Space, a whole bunch of things you can do with that to teach physics at a very high and advanced level, but in a very fun way. And that's something that they can actually do at home instead of having to be at a classroom. But everything that's on this chart, whether it's a CanSat or a CubeSat or a rocketry program, robotics program patterned after the Mars rovers, all of these things are at your fingertips of trying to figure out how to help a school integrate them into their curriculum. Okay. So what is it that I can do? I can help you with connections, not only within the local STEAM community here and the space community here, but also reaching out to teachers if you just want to pick their brains and say, what would work best for your district? What would work best for your school? Being able to talk to principals to do the same thing and say, when we come in and we try to bring industry partners, do you have a process for doing that we don't interfere with what you're already doing, and developing those relationships. I have a lot of space-related STEAM outreach connections at the national and local level, to where if you have questions about programs you might find online, I can help you with that. And then from an entrepreneurial point of view, if you have any questions about, let's say that your program excites you to where you want to do your own nonprofit or for-profit company, I can kind of give you the tips of what to do and what not to do based on my failures and successes, over the past 3 years. So that's me in a nutshell. And the other thing is if you just need ideas, this is an example of the program that I'm doing right now. I've got about 5 or 6 others. So please just reach out to me anytime. Okay. Yeah.
Will those resources be available to everybody?
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, that was a question.
That was
Great.
no.